Today we talk about communicating efficiently.
This show is for everyone working at the coalface. Digital, business, marketing, social. This is At the Coalface with your host, Jason Greenwood.
Hello everybody, I'm Jason Greenwood. Welcome to episode 37 of At the Coalface. I'm pretty pumped. I can almost taste episode 40. It's so close. It's pretty exciting to be nearly at 40 episodes of this little series that I decided to throw together almost initially on a whim, but certainly it's become quite cathartic to me to talk about some of the things that I know, to talk about sort of what my experiences are and share those with the world and hopefully benefit those of you in the audience that take your valuable time to listen to me. So I just wanted to say thank you. Really appreciate each and every person out there who takes the time out of their busy day to watch the videos, to listen to them however they consume them, and to give feedback and provide valuable insights in their own right. So thank you very much. What I want to talk about today really is about how to make communication, specifically within businesses, personal communication, yes, but more importantly within businesses and medium to large size organizations, how you can kind of digitalize the communications within those businesses and organizations to make them a lot more efficient than perhaps what they are today. And as a consultant, when I was working within the e-commerce agency space, one of the things that I saw on a very routine basis as an e-business consultant, when I would go in and I would do initial discovery with very large organizations and very large companies both in New Zealand and Australia, one of the things that I was always struck by is the sense of very legacy communication technologies within those businesses. So, you know, from everything from conference calls that were done by Polycom units sitting in the middle of a boardroom table, all the way to email, to phone calls, etc. It was very common for even large, quote-unquote, cutting-edge companies and relatively young companies to be communicating internally in a really inefficient way. And that typically revolved around email largely. And email is a really slow method of communication. It creates bottlenecks. There's a lot of management issues around email, particularly if you host your own email service. Let's say you run an Exchange server and you've got to host all of your own email. You've got to archive it. You've got to maintain it. You've got to secure it. And even if you're running something like Gmail for work or Google for work, and so you've got Google managing your domains, your email, your MX records, etc., you've still got the scenario whereby you've got a lot of email or a lot of communications going via the email channel that really the email channel was never designed to handle. So it was designed really to take the place of form letters, full format, long format letters, and convert those into electronic mail. That's really what the whole idea behind email originally was. And it's been leveraged in myriad ways ever since, from newsletters, etc. So I'm not saying email doesn't have its place, but unfortunately it's used in a lot of ways that are very inefficient. And so what I want to talk about is ways in which you can bring your business out of kind of the dark ages of email, and especially for internal communications, you can make it a lot more free-flowing, a lot more time critical. So for time-sensitive information, time-sensitive communications, you can make it a lot faster. So the first technology I want to talk about is Skype. You're probably all very familiar with Skype. Probably use Skype a lot as a person-to-person communication tool amongst your friends, amongst family members overseas, etc. And it really hasn't gained any additional traction outside of that kind of generic use case since Microsoft took them over and bought them out. And it's really unfortunate, because I think that obviously Microsoft has a vested interest in its Lync software, and so therefore it's kind of pushing the business market down the Office/Lync path, and it's really relegated Skype and sort of neutered Skype and left it to the B2C or person-to-person space, I should say. And really, it's got a lot of opportunities, both internally and externally, to be leveraged in really smart ways that are effectively free to you. So if you're an organization and you want to start using Skype for internal communications instead of email, especially for short communications, short little chats, short little questions, and that can then be responded to on the recipient's time frame and when they're available to actually respond, then what you'll want to do is you'll want to have everyone who joins your organization have a standardized protocol when they join of setting up a new Skype account specifically for that work account. You don't want them bringing and migrating in their personal accounts, and then when they leave the business, they still are communicating potentially internally with staff and externally with vendors and customers via their personal Skype account that they've connected to through the business and through you. And obviously that's not ideal. So first thing you're going to want to do is to put a protocol around that. And the best thing I can recommend is for everyone to standardize on a standard format for creating their username in Skype, something like their name dot your company name. So in the case of HealthPost, for example, it might be jason.healthpost. And so that would be my recommendation. That would be a standard format that everybody in the company adopts. It can be added, obviously, to the call list, the internal call list you have that you maybe share around internally as a Google Doc or whatever. And obviously, it can be shared with external third parties as well, external vendors, etc., external partners, external customers if you're a vendor yourself. And that's really going to allow you to standardize, and everyone external to you is going to know what format to contact someone in your business. Now, if you have 5 Jasons, then that could be a little bit challenging. You might want to say, you know, in the case of me, my surname is Greenwood, and so it might be jasongreenwood.healthpost if there's more than one Jason within the organization. And so you can create rules so that you don't have to double up on names, or that you don't run into a situation where you double up on names. Now, what this is going to allow you to do is it's going to allow everyone who's within the business to have Skype running at all times on their desktop, on their laptop, on their mobile device, whatever. It's going to allow them to be logged into their business account, their company account, and it's going to allow that. It's going to facilitate that rapid fire sharing of information. You can attach files, obviously, to Skype chat, and so we're using Skype as an instant messaging service primarily in this scenario. You can, of course, still have voice calls amongst internally. Let's say you've got several different locations for your offices or for your shops or for your warehouse or whatever, then obviously you can still have Skype as almost like a conference call scenario where people can be sitting at their computer, they can have a headset plugged in, you can share video, you can share your screens, you can have chat going on, instant messaging going on while you're having a video call. So Skype is fantastic, and because it's free, there's really no barrier to adoption except for obviously just making sure there's a process involved to make sure it's managed properly within the business. Now, obviously, if you're running Google for work and you're already running Google for domains and you're running all of your email through Google already, then I would strongly recommend seriously considering Google Chat itself. And it's activated from within the Gmail web window, and it's a function of the web window. And so basically, when you're within your email pane, then all of a sudden you, on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, depending on how you have your screen configured and depending on how you have Gmail configured, there's a chat window that can be popped up, and everybody who you're connected to within that email window, you can access via chat. And even third parties that you're connected to, let's say you sent an email backwards and forwards to somebody else who has a Gmail account, then Google will typically create those as contacts for you automatically in your contact list. And if they're available via Google Chat, you typically have those available in your chat window as well, so even for external communication. And very much like Skype, it facilitates very quick and rapid internal communication between internal team members. Google Hangouts, which is kind of an adjunct component which would provide the video component that Skype has all in the one tool, it doesn't work as well across teams as I would like it to work, which is really surprising for Google. Google Hangouts just doesn't seem to be able to manage video calls very well at all. It's confusing, it's cumbersome, it doesn't work that well, and I've never seen it work on a large conference call. I've never actually seen it work. I've always had to revert back to something like Skype or GoToMeeting to actually get a voice conference and a video conference to work across groups. So the reality is Google Chat on its own can work really, really well in organizations that have standardized on Google for work and Google for domains, and they're managing their email and everything through Google. It's the natural choice to facilitate instant messaging within the organization that runs that. There's no reason to use Skype. You might as well just use the Google accounts and the email addresses that you have already at your own domain sitting under Google. You might as well use those and leverage those for Google Chat, and I've seen that work really, really well in a lot of large organizations. The final one that I'll talk about that can really help you is a product called Slack. And Slack is really an instant messaging system that is designed from the ground up to be an all-in-one, all-singing, all-dancing instant messaging system that also can connect to many other messaging channels, messaging systems, and other tool sets. So for example, there's a default integration from Slack to Jira, Atlassian Jira, so that through Slack, you can receive all of your messages around ticket updates. So when a ticket is created, when a ticket is updated, you'll be messaged automatically in your Slack account as to what's happening on that. Chat within Slack functions on the idea of channels. So there's different channels of communication, and you can think of those like Skype groups, Skype chat groups. And that's another thing that is common to both Skype and Slack, is the ability to create discussion groups, both private and sort of semi-public groups that you can add multiple people to, so that when you send a message out, it goes to every member of that discussion group. And that can be really, really effective especially for project teams who need to have quick, rapid-fire updates in an agile environment. You can fire those out and update everyone on the team all at once. And so around a project launch time, etc., it can really facilitate ease of communication around the project, amongst the project group, without having to send an email to everybody in the project group for a quick update. So Slack really is the granddaddy of business messaging systems. It's becoming the de facto standard across a lot of web development teams that need to have quick chat amongst each other. It integrates to other well-known messaging systems like WeChat, and WeChat is another fantastic tool that a lot of businesses have leveraged internally for all of their internal communication. So really, it would be those primary systems, but Slack has the unique distinction of being able to kind of aggregate through its API layer and through its standard integrations that it offers between itself and most of the other major messaging systems and call systems out there. It probably has a little bit of an edge in that collective discussion department, because within your organization you might have some people that prefer to use Skype, you might have some people that prefer to use Google Chat, you might have some people that prefer to use WeChat. Now unfortunately, I haven't been able to find a Google Chat integration with Slack yet. It may exist out there, you may know about it, but I haven't been able to find one yet. That would kind of make it even more useful, I think, if it did have an integration with Google Chat. But in any case, those are really my picks to streamline communication within your business, is to really take it to the next level, get out of email, get more efficient. There's a saying that money loves speed, and that's absolutely been my experience. The faster you can make things happen, the faster you can make communication happen, the faster you can make innovation happen, the more likely you are to be successful, the more likely you are to close deals faster, and really from an internal communication perspective, the more free-flowing internal communication can be, the more efficient your organization will be. So I hope you found this information really useful. I know that for me, whenever I've gone into an organization and I've seen inefficiencies in their internal communication, they've implemented one of those, and they've standardized on a communication methodology. Try it out. It doesn't cost you anything, especially with Skype, and Slack has a free version as well. It's not as full featured as their paid versions, but it's a freemium model, so you can give it a try with absolutely zero risk. So my advice to you would be, absolutely try one of these out. Every single one of these platforms for messaging, and even for voice communication and video communication, they've got smartphone apps. So whether you're running Android, whether you're running iOS, they've all got apps that work really, really seamlessly with voice, with chat on your smartphone. So absolutely give them a try. Let me know what you think. If you use any of these tools internally for your internal communication, or even external communication to facilitate that, then by all means, please let me know how it's working for you. I know that here at HealthPost, I have a lot of contact with even external vendors via Skype, instant messaging, and chat, and that makes things so much easier and faster, because I can fire a message away to that external party, that vendor, and I can just let them get back to me in their own time if it's not really time critical, and I can keep it out of email, I can keep it out of Jira, I can keep it if it's especially a time sensitive communication, I can get it right through and generally get a response very, very quickly right from that person's desktop, because they get notified that they've got a message. So let me know how you get on. Let me know how you're using it. Let me know if you've used Slack, if you've used WeChat, if you used Skype, if you used Google Chat, if you used any of these internal communication systems and they're working well for you. Let me know how or why. If they aren't, let me know how or why, and let me know if this has been of use to you. Thanks very much.